you're listening to Big Blend Radio's Lost Angel Travel Adventures show with Linda Ballou, travel writer and author, and your host, Lisa Smith. Welcome, everyone. You know, October is National Book Month. And, you know, with the holiday season coming up, we're really going to be focusing on books for the rest of the year here on Lost Angel Travel Adventures, the podcast with Linda Ballou. And today we're going to go to Hawaii, which we know Linda loves Hawaii. She lived there. She also wrote her first novel, Wai-Nani, and which is all a wonderful story, and especially about a wonderful woman, a strong woman. She's going to talk about that. She's going to give us a reading. We're also going to catch up on the Chief of War and touch on Embrace of the Wild, which was also had some connections to Hawaii, and that is her novel about Isabella Bird. So we got a lot to get through today. I'm excited. How are you, Linda?
Really great, Lisa, and I'm really looking forward to sharing my thoughts on the Chief of War, giving a response to it, because maybe people don't know it was a 9-episode series on Apple TV, and it was written and acted in by Jason Momoa. Now, Jason Momoa is Hawaiian, and it was his childhood dream to bring the Hawaiian history to life, you know, to make people realize that the culture isn't just, you know, poo-poos and hula. And so he did a really fabulous job. He said his goal was to make the Hawaiian people proud. And I think he really accomplished that on many levels, because I think people go to the islands and they don't really get the culture. For one thing, the culture is a little confusing, because in the first people came in 350, and they lived quietly until 1250, and they lived with Ohana rule, which was family rule, extended family rule, and, you know, respect for the elders and things like that. And, you know, no one went unloved and taken care of. But in 1250, there was a huge migration across Polynesia, and the Tahitians came with their Polynesian kapu system, and it is a very harsh system. And that is why you have these big contradictions in their culture. So Jason chose to be, the time that he took, the snapshot of the time that he took was in the time between 1750 and 1819, when Kamehameha came into power and united the Hawaiian Islands. And Keane, the warrior that Jason chose to play, was kind of an anti-hero. But I really, Keane was in my book, but not nearly to the degree. I didn't really know who he was until I saw Chief of War. And Keane he was not abducted by the foreign ships, but he got on a foreign ship, and he went to exotic ports in China, and he learned the ways of the whites, and he learned the ways of weapons, and he was a brutally handsome warrior. And when he came back, he was divisive. Kamehameha was was in power at the time that this episodes are being played, and it was fascinating for me to see how he portrayed it. He really, I won't say boys will be boys, but he focused on the wars.
Okay.
He focused on the many tribal wars that were going on, and he has all of these tremendous battle scenes. But he was also very sensitive to the culture, and one of the things, in the opening scene, the opening episode, he swims with sharks. Now this is legendary. I don't know that people actually swam with sharks. I know that Kamehameha, who, if you don't know, is the warrior who united the Hawaiian Islands and is, Kamehameha the Great, and the most loved and adored warrior in Hawaiian history. And anyway, he used to lasso a shark and let the shark pull his canoe around, and he thought that was great fun. That was the way he would spend an afternoon. So that, I think, is real. But the thing about the Hawaiian history is that it wasn't written. It's an oral tradition and it's been handed down. So there are many mutations of it. And in my writing of Wai-Nani, A Voice from Old Hawaii, I had to choose my truths, the things that I wanted to share. But my book is a poetic rendering, with magical realism, and I incorporate a lot of the myths and the legends into the narration. So, I tried in my way to be very true to the culture. So Wai-Nani is Kahahumanu. Kahahumanu was the favorite wife of Kamehameha the Great. And in my book, Makaha is Kamehameha. Now, I changed the names of the characters for Western readers because there are so many K words, Ks in the Hawaiian language that it is really confusing for Westerners. So at the end of my book, I list the names of the characters and who they were in real life. And Kiani is in my story for a couple of reasons, but one of them was that he was a divisive force, like I said, but he also had a dalliance with Kahahumanu. And that was, Kamehameha was very angry about this because Kiani was pulling warriors away from his rule. And so his way of handling it was to assign a dwarf to Kahumanu, who would have to go back to him if they got together. And if they got together, the dwarf would be put to death. So Kahumanu's way of handling this intrigue was just to turn the dwarf into a pet, like a monkey at her side. So, I always thought that was very cute.
I
But
love that part. Yeah.
but Kamehameha was actually terribly angry with her over this, and the story goes that he chased her in his canoe. She swam away from him, trying to get away from his anger, and he chased her in his canoe. And while she was in the water, her Amakua, who happened to be a shark, saved her and guided her to her destination, which was the place of refuge. So my story is really focused on their love affair of the ages
Mm.
because she was with him 40 years through all his rise to power. Now, in Momoa's telling, he sort of intimates that Kamehameha was a pacifist. No, not at all. He was there when Captain Cook landed in 1779 in Kealakekua Bay. He was there, and he saw the weapons that the white people had. And he was part of the incident where Captain Cook was killed. And he was young then, and then he, rose to power. He, went on to become ruling chief. So they mention in the play, in the Chief of War, they talk about the prophecy. So the prophecy was that a shining rooster tail would go across the sky, and the day that person was born, the warrior that was born on that day was prophesied to be the ruling chief that would bring all the islands together, which had been warring for just, since 1250. And that was Kamehameha, but he was feared by Kalianapio because that meant he was going to replace him,
Mhm.
because he was the, prophesied to rule. So what the ruling chief did was he hid, his mother hid him in Waipio Valley, which is where the gods come close. It's this wonderful valley that is now closed off to overnight stays. I got to stay there for 3 nights. It's a sacred, sacred valley, and the bones of chiefs are hidden in the pali there. And it's kind of a Shangri-La, and the Hawaiians would go there in a Makahiki time. Now, Momoa never talked about Makahiki time in his presentation. Every year for like 2 or 3 months out of the year, the Hawaiians would holiday.
Hmm.
You know, they would relax and enjoy life and dance and sing. We don't see any of the village that sort of celebration going on in Chief of War. We just see a lot of war
Yeah.
and very brutal.
It's like Troy, the movie, that kind of, let's go for it, get them, boys.
Right. So anyway, Kamehameha was hidden away in Waipio Valley for the first 5 years of his life, but he was groomed to be an Ali'i chief, and they did things like massaged fingertips to,
Hmm.
to to get more mana. They massaged the forehead back to make their head more slanted, kind of almost like Egyptians. I mean, I just found there were so many fascinating things about the Hawaiian culture. And at this moment, I think I'd like to do my reading, Lisa, because it takes place in Waipio Valley.
Okay.
And they are there relaxing, Makaha and Wai-Nani, and there's a big storm, and the waves are huge. This valley faces a curved white beach with big surf. It's actually quite dangerous. And so Makaha decides he wants to surf. And by the way, the royals were only allowed to surf, wave sliding, they called it. And she and he, would wave slide together, the royals. So she sees him walking to the surf and to go in, and she goes, "Oh, no, 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 don't go in." And she tries to stop him, but he keeps going because she's afraid he's going to get killed. So now, she decides rather than trying to stop him, she's going to join him. She's going to go into the water. So once beside Makaha, my thoughts of death ended. I followed him to the cold blue bowels of a roaring wave. I could feel the pull of Milu as he tried to take me to his kingdom. I fought with all my might to paddle up the curving breast of the beast that dwells in the ocean. The churning rage over my head was about to drop on me when I slipped just under the snarling lip. I turned to make the drop and felt myself falling to eternity. I hit hard, nearly toppling over in the heaving swell. I shuffled back and forth on my board to gain my balance. Before I knew what was happening, I was encircled by an ice blue tube shot through with light. I was inside the belly of the whale. Many moments passed in which I was lost to all but the immense power shooting me through the whirl of blue. It fired me out and down the face of the great wave. I turned my board up and rowed the crest to shore. When I emerged from the water, my aura flew off of me in a halo of sparkling light. Pinpricks of light shot off my fingertips and the soles of my feet as I walked on the hard packed sand. The mystery of Moana, the grand and vibrant sea, could never be grasped and made to stay still. All one could do is let it go and live in harmony with it. I was content to live that day and did not re-enter the surf with Makaha, who continued wave sliding for many hours like a dolphin born in water. And when the gods, tired of the storm, the skies cleared to sapphire blue and three-colored rainbows burst over the valley. I took Makaha by the hand and led him up the canyon to two twin waterfalls. These two streams plunging from the sky into a secret pool were once forbidden lovers. Rather than be separated, the lovers jumped off the pali together into a pool at the bottom of the falls to meet their deaths together. The joined water flows from the stream to the sea and supports the taro fields, feeding the fishes and nurturing the land. Like these streams, our lives are forever bound, I told him. My brave Wai-Nani, you are my never-fading flower, he said, rubbing my nose tenderly with his own. Your hard path is to be softened by the pure water of my love, I said. We held hands and turned to watch the silken tracks of the dying lovers.
Wow. I love it. I
Yeah,
love this book.
it's poetry. It's
It
poetry.
is.
My book is poetry, and I
Mhm.
focused on this love affair of the ages.
Mm, absolutely.
It's just a beautiful, beautiful love affair. So, in his thing, he shows Kahumanu. She's there. She has a prominent place, and she's played by Lucian Buchanan, who is from New Zealand. And he went to New Zealand to film some of this, and several of the people in the episode in the series are from New Zealand. Um, it was in 1250 part of that massive Polynesian migration that I told you about. So it's the same rootstock, and they
Mm,
have many, many, many similarities in their culture, although the Maori were much more aggressive than the Hawaiians in the sense that they wouldn't let Captain Cook land. So their culture was not corrupted quite as soon as the Hawaiians who welcomed him. So anyway, she did a really good job. One of the things about this episode that was criticized by some was that it was all in Hawaiian language. Now, there has been since the 70s, they want to call it a renaissance, but it's not really a renaissance. It's a revival
mm,
of the old ways. And that included the Hawaiian language, which was sent underground, well, like so many other things, when the missionaries took over. So he really wanted to do the Hawaiian people proud. He really wanted to, make it real. And he chose to have all of the message in Hawaiian. Kiani speaks a couple of times in English because he was exposed to the Western culture. Um, but it's dubbed, it's subtitled. But, I didn't have a problem with it because I watch foreign films and,
mm.
they're subtitled.
Yeah.
I can keep up. And the story wasn't that I knew the story, so for
Yeah.
me, it was much easier. But I had friends who complained that that was hard for them. But I was quite willing to be immersed in the culture. And one of the things that in the scenes that I thought was really important that he did was his brother is killed by in a struggle, war, in a battle. His brother is
Hmm.
killed. And so we see them taking the bones of his brother. What they did would be boil the flesh off the bones, and they would wrap the bones in, they put it in a special basket and wrap the bones and had a whole ceremony about the bones because the Hawaiians believe that mana or spiritual power is stored in the bones. So he brought that out very beautifully, I
Ah,
thought. He took the brothers' bones and cinematically it was gorgeous. He's going up to the top of this mountain and you can see the ocean behind and he has a very emotional scene hiding his brother's bones. And I would say I was touched uh, by that
yeah.
scene. And then the other scenes that were just absolutely epic was the battle scene in the ninth episode, the final episode of the story. Certainly not the end of the wars in the islands, but this battle was between forces on the Big Island, and it took place on the flank of the Kilauea volcano and the Black Desert, which of course is all the black lava rock,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So that was the setting. And the volcano erupts, and you have, this, fiery, massive scene going on, while they're having this incredible war and battle. It was very, very brutal. I mean, I could have been spared some of the brutality and still gotten the gist. But cinematically, I have to say it was spectacular. I mean, you were totally immersed, and they had a man chanting during the war, during the battle. Oh, it was really done well. and he he hired like 500 Hawaiians there for this battle scene. It was
Oh, wow.
it was big. So, one of the thing, my one of my criticisms was, the warriors, they had the chiefs and the alihi, they're all wearing the feathered capes, and as you
Mhm.
know, because I think you have one of the people that you
Rick
oh,
San Nicholas, who's a
he
feather
does
worker,
the
master
the
feather worker.
feathers, right? He
Yeah.
works with the feathers. Well, in Momoa's telling, they're all of the Alehi are wearing their feather capes a lot, all the time, and I don't think that's the way it was. I think these capes were, very, very special and only brought out for special
For
occasions.
war, for war. For according to Rick San Nicholas, it's mostly for war. So if they're wearing it throughout the war scenes, then that is accurate, according to Rick San Nicholas from the interviews I've done with.
Oh,
So because they,
if
they
that's
they
the case,
deem that like maybe other special occasions, but the war scenes are deemed special. You know what I mean? So you're
well,
right, and he's right. Yeah. So
there were a lot of feather
I
capes.
think they went into a lot of work to get it all done. That they're probably like, keep wearing them. They look cool too. You know.
Well, they did wear them a lot. Okay. And the other
Mhm.
thing about the costumery was, I felt that Kahumanu's dress was way over the top for what she would have actually been wearing at that time. She would have probably been wearing a kakipa, which is tied here and, draped. And they had her in quite a Hollywood version. Look, it's Hollywood. So, you have to understand that they need to sell the production, So, I mean,
Yeah.
I get that part, but I do think he really, really tried to be authentic and true to the culture.
Yeah, I do too. I think from what I've heard, I have not watched it, but we're going to.
Well,
It's you're getting us to do it. I know everyone's talking about it, but when you say we need to do this, we will. I wanted to go back too about the subtitles. I actually think it's a really good thing because the Hawaiian language, if you've never read it, I mean, I've never been there, right? But I've interviewed so many people from Hawaii, and then you learn according to like articles coming in and where the apostrophes go and everything. I think subtitles help to teach the language or
right.
just like that kind of,
Yeah.
lingo.
This brings me to a behind the scene joke in the big war at the end. One of the things he does is he rips out the tongue of a warrior, and then he takes a bite of the tongue. I mean,
Oh,
and you go,
no. Ew.
wait, you didn't need to do that. Well, the joke was that the warrior that he ripped the tongue out of was his language teacher, who had given him such grief about how to pronounce the Hawaiian words. So this was like, a joke in this.
That's funny. That's classic. I love that. Well, you've got all these ties to Hawaii, like I was saying at the beginning, that you also lived there. So
Yeah,
I want to, you've done so many stories. You've got stories in your book, Lost Angel Walkabout. You've written stories. You've got stories with us also, and especially in our Parks and Travel magazine. Um, You've got a couple things I wanted to touch on, and then I wanted to close off with Embrace of the Wild because Isabella Bird was also out in that area.
right,
But you do a PowerPoint and then you also have a podcast with questions, like a
right,
Q&A
right,
that you
right.
answer that will, all of this is linked in the episode notes, everyone. So yeah, tell us about the PowerPoint.
Okay, so the PowerPoint is like, I call it a night in Old Hawaii. And I take you to secret sites all around the islands. And the big island was the main center of their culture. So the sacred sites that I take you to are mostly there, but we go to Maui because the enemy, Kahekili, who in my story I call Pano, was the ruling chief of Maui. And he was really the arch rival of Kamehameha, not Keane. Keane was a side act. The major war was with Pano, uh, Kahekili, okay? And you can go to Wailuku and the valley there where he's surrounded by Pali, and it was like a fortress. And Kamehameha tried, went several bloody battles. blooding the stream at Wailuku and all of these things, and but it's a very great place to go and see. So anyhow, I have a PowerPoint explaining why these places are sacred and giving people inside track on that. And then over the years, people have asked me questions about the Hawaiian culture. Is this true or that? So I created a podcast where I answer, questions. Like one of them that people always are interested in is what about homosexuality in the Hawaiian culture? And I answer that question. And it was hinted at in Chief of War. He has a scene between two warriors where it's very clear that they are homosexual. Now, my understanding of it is that they had boy girls who would go both ways, and that, it wasn't a big deal. And the chief would ask for a boy girl for one night. It's like,
It does.
they were pretty liberal. Pretty liberal.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this was many cultures. I mean, really, if we look at the history of
Yes,
mankind,
that's right.
so
Homosexuality's been around as long as
that's right. We're all going to get in trouble, but say it loud.
Humans have been around.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
So
but that's so good that I'm glad to hear that they did that. As our country digresses on this kind of thing, we need to look at history because the history is the truth.
silly. It's so silly.
It is.
Honestly, it's been
Yeah.
but anyway, I won't go there.
Yeah.
I will touch on Embrace of the Wild, though. I want to say that Isabella Bird in 1872, now we're 100 years later, she landed on the Big Island, and which, as I say, is the Kilauea volcano, and she had a transforming experience there that just changed her whole life forever. And her writing about this time there, it's called 6 Months in the Sandwich Islands, was one of the books that I used researching Wai-Nani. And so I got involved with her story. And I ended up, during COVID, writing Isabella Bird's story and saving my own sanity by doing it. And, I really enjoy that. And in Lost Angel Walkabout, I've got like 6 essays about, well, one of them is about my stay in Waipio Valley, which was really a magical experience for me. And subsequently, they have closed it out to overnights. You can go down there for a day, but you can't spend the night. And I spent 3 nights there at Mr. Araki's hotel for $15 a night.
That podcast we did on that. That's still cool.
I'm so glad, that
because you can't do it now, right? That's
no way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Wow. So many. Everyone, look in the links. I'm even going to put a link to Chief of War for you to go and watch it. It's easy to go see on Amazon.
Really, I give my hats off to Jason. He spent all his energy, and
I'll take my hat off for him.
For 10 years, he's worked really hard to bring this to life, and I really think he did a good job.
I can't wait. We're finally at a spot where we can do it, and so I'm going to watch it tonight. I'm going to start watching it. So.
All right.
Well,
Aloha.
Thanks, Linda. Aloha. Always good to have you on the show. And everyone, again, keep up with Linda. Go to lindaballouauthor.com and lostangeladventures.com. Next month, we're going to be talking about adventure travel books, 5 different books that you may want to gift for your adventure travelers this holiday season. And you know what? Books are great gifts. They're great for stocking stuffers. You can gift them as ebooks. You can do all kinds of things, and they are easy to ship. And so let's get going with that. Don't wait till the end of, don't wait until the last minute to give a book, but you can. Ebooks are one of those last minute gifts you can do. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
If you my site, I'll pay for the shipping. So and I'll ship anywhere around the U.S., including Hawaii.
There you go. She really will go with you with the book. All right. Thanks, Linda.
All right, Lisa. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Lost Angel Travel Adventure Show with Linda Ballou, travel writer and author. Keep up with her at lindaballouauthor.com and lostangeladventures.com. You can also keep up with Big Blend Radio at bigblendradio.com. Now, happy traveling!